plus double plus plus or double addition symbol means that it's going to add 1 to the previous value that is contained inside this index array. So the previous value of this index is 0. So it's going to add 1 to this 0. It's going to become the variable index is now going to contain the value of 1. So this statement terminates, and so the loop terminates again. The loop now has executed its process, but will it stop there? No. The pointer of the compiler will move again to this while keyword. So when it moves on to this while keyword, it now knows that the index does not contain 0. Now the index, because we have added 1 to it, it now contains 1 inside this variable. So if we return to our previous operands like this, and we had something like count pages. So if we evaluate this right now, because now the compiler has moved its pointer to this while loop again, then it's now going to evaluate this part again and again until it reaches or until the condition is false. So because we now have we are in the second step of the while loop, or we are actually done with the first iteration. Now our pointer has moved to the second iteration. Now the compiler will read, while this condition is true, this is going to execute. But is it true? So let's see. So the index variable now contains 1, and the total number of elements inside the array is 6. So 1 is less than 6. So this is a go-ahead signal for the while loop. So it's going to enter this body or this clause, and then it's going to execute this echo statement. Now the echo statement will look something like this, because we actually passed in something like the index variable. So the index variable now contains 1, which is it's going to replace, or the compiler is going to replace this index's name with the value of 1. Then again, the compiler is going to look into this pages array that is contained on line 4. So it's going to check whether the index of 1 or whether the index of 1 contains any sort of value. So when it finds that the index of 1 inside this pages array contains a value which is known as shop, it's going to print that out, and then it's going to tell the browser that after you're done printing this shop, then move the pointer to a new line so that the next element can be printed out on a new line. So after this code, or after this statement terminates, the index element is now going to get incremented, or the previous value, which is 1, is going to result in the value of 2, because we are adding 1, or we are adding the previous value. We are adding 1 to the previous value that is stored inside this index array. So the index array had a previous value of 1. When this statement terminates, and when the pointer of the compiler reaches this closing curly brace, it terminates the loop for the second time. So when it terminates the loop for the second time, we now have a value of 2 inside this index array. So then when the compiler terminates the loop for the second time, it moves its pointer to this while loop again for the third iteration. Then again, it's also going to do the same thing. It's going to check whether this condition is true. If it is true, then it's going to do the same thing. It's going to bring in the third element of the array from the from this array, the pages array. Then again, it's going to increment the index variable. Now the index variable is going to contain the value of 3. When it contains the value of 3, then again it's going to look into this while loop, and if it's still true, then it's going to print out the 4th element, and this is going to continue until it reaches the last element. So when it reaches the last element, our index is going to have the value of 6. So when the compiler moves on to this while statement and it sees that the index has got the value of 6 and the number of elements inside this array is 6, so it's going to replace those with 6. It's going to have 6 on the left hand operand, and it's also going to have 6 on the right hand operand. And when the evaluation of this condition is done to its entirety, it's going to see that 6 is less than 6, which is actually false. So it will read the while loop something like this: while this condition is false, ignore this block of statements, or ignore this clause and move on to the next line. So you don't need to, the compiler, the program is going to tell the compiler, while this condition is false, you don't need to move back your pointer again to this while loop. So you don't need to repeat the steps again, and now you have completed your while loop's life cycle, and you have completed it to its entirety.